out there. Yes, everybody, whether you're enjoying yourself, whether you might be feeling a little bit down in the dumps, hey, I'm your solution, people. This is Krocking, Locking, and Dropping with the K-Rock, episode 16, with your host, Kenneth the K-Rock Klein. And boy, oh boy, this is definitely going to be an interesting episode today. First and foremost, though, if I don't put out a podcast on this coming Sunday, happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. And that includes my old man. Happy Father's Day, Dad. I got you a special gift, which I will not reveal until that Sunday. So I hope you guys enjoy yourselves and your fathers on your on that special day for all the dads out there in the world. Folks, today we're going to be talking about a couple of issues. First and foremost, we're going to be discussing the life and legacy of Jerry West, who unfortunately passed away this week at the age of 86. We're going to be talking about what all he achieved on the court and off the court as well, his contentious relationship with the team that he played for most of his time, why the Lakers should be ashamed of themselves for, treating Jerry West as bad as they did, even when he was the general manager in some areas. And then, folks, we're going to be talking about my Houston Texans. Are they getting too much overhype? Are they getting a little bit cocky? We're going to be discussing an article that was featured from a local Houston reporter, and we're going to be giving out my thoughts on that particular subject as well. So you will not want to miss out on that. But first, folks, as of this podcast, the NBA Finals could be over this coming Friday, or it could be extended to another game. But as of right now, the Dallas Mavericks are in some serious trouble. They're down 3-0. It is clear that the Celtics are having their way, and I talked about that previously on my last episode as to why the Celtics are in control. Though I will give Dallas credit, they did put together a comeback. They were down by 16 near the end of the midway through the fourth quarter, and then they were able to storm their way back, got it to within 3 points, I believe. But then, of course, the Celtics were able to put together the finishing touches and were able to take themselves a 3-0 series lead. So, as of right now, the Dallas Mavericks are in some trouble. They are down 3-0, and no team in the history of the NBA has ever overcome a 3-0 deficit to win an NBA Finals. There was one team that overcame a 3-1 deficit, as we know, the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James. But no team trailing 3-0 overcoming a 3-0 deficit. That's not to say that there hasn't been a team that overcame a 3-0 deficit to force a deciding Game 7. If you want a little bit of NBA trivia, folks, the only time that a team overcame a 3-0 deficit to force a Game 7 in the NBA Finals, you got to go all the way back to 1951 with the New York Knicks. And their opponents in that NBA Finals were the Rochester Royals, who we now know today as the Sacramento Kings. And, of course, that was a long list of traveling locations that the Rochester Royals went to. I think they they went to Cincinnati, and then they went to Kansas City, where they changed their name to the Kansas City Kings to avoid any confusion with the Kansas City Royals, as far as I'm concerned. And then they ended up moving to Sacramento, so that's where they are as of right now. But anyway, the New York Knicks took on the Rochester Royals in a best-of-7 series in 1951. They lost the first 3 games. First game was a disaster for them. They lost by 27 points. Then they lost by 15. And then they lost by 7. So you can kind of get the sense that the Knicks were getting better after the first 3 games. Well, then the Knicks won Game 4, 79-73. They then won Game 5 by 3 points. And then they won Game 6 by 7. So now you're thinking, okay, the Knicks have some momentum here. They're back. They're within 3 games. They got themselves back to a 3-3 situation going into a Game 7. And Game 7 was pretty close, but ultimately the Royals would win by 4 points to clinch the championship. So that was the first championship for the Rochester Royals, and unfortunately that has been the only championship for the Sacramento Kings, even though they were in the Rochester at that time. So it is possible, though it is unlikely. I'm not saying the series is over. I think the Mavericks might win Game 4 just to bring the series back to Boston for Game 5. But if the Mavericks win Game 4 and then they win Game 5, if I were the Boston Celtics, I would definitely feel a little bit of pressure going into back to Game 6 in Dallas. But we'll wait and see if there is a Game 6 in Dallas or if their series will end by the end of this weekend. Now, folks, we're going to come back. When we do, we're going to be talking about the legacy of Jerry West. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back. You know, folks, over the past few years, we have seen stories about some of the most elite NBA players, NBA legends, passing away. And to be fair, they are getting up there in age, and, you know, you kind of figured that it was going to, happen at some point for them. But Bill Russell passed away a couple of years ago in 2022. You know, John Havlicek going back a couple of years more. And then recently, we lost two NBA Hall of Famers, Chet Walker, who passed away, and then Bill Walton to start the NBA Finals. Or actually, that happened when the Celtics were about to close out the Indiana Pacers to, win that series. But on Tuesday, I believe, the NBA lost another legend, and this legend is, without question, one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic NBA legend. Not saying he's the greatest NBA player ever, but he's probably the most impactful person in the history of the NBA. I'm talking, of course, about Jerry West, Mr. Clutch, the man who was the inspiration for the NBA logo. And I tell you what, when I first heard that it was Jerry West who was the NBA logo, I was surprised because, with all due respect, the guy looked like he was bald, Michael Jordan was bald, Grant Hill was bald, and, or at least they were at that time, but man, Jerry West, that was really surprising, and then I saw the actual picture that they used, and then I was like, oh, okay, it was just a case of him having short hair, but Jerry West, Mr. Clutch, passed away at the age of 86, and this is, without question, a big loss in the sports world, not just in the NBA world. You look at Jerry West's career as an NBA player. He won an NBA championship in 1972. That was his only championship. He made 9 trips to the NBA Finals, and he lost 8 of them. 6 of the 8 times he lost to Bill Russell and the Boston Celtics. That was when the Celtics were in their dominant dynasty, and then the other 2 he lost to the New York Knicks. He was the first ever NBA Finals most valuable player, but the funny thing about that is the first year they gave out the NBA Finals award, he was on the losing team in 1969 when they lost to the Celtics, and to this day, he is the only player that has ever won the NBA Finals MVP that has played on a losing team. And you could make an argument that LeBron James in 2015 should have won that award instead of Andre Iguodala, even though the Warriors won the championship that year. But Jerry West kind of has that distinction about him. 14-time NBA All-Star. He won the All-Star Game MVP in 1972. 10-time All-NBA First Team. 2-time All-NBA Second Team. 4-time NBA All-Defensive First Team. 1-time All-NBA Defensive Second Team. He won a scoring champion. He led the league in assists one year. And he was selected to 3 NBA anniversary teams. The 35th, the 50th, and the 75th. And, of course, his number 44 jersey was retired by the Los Angeles Lakers. But if that wasn't crazy enough, this is what he did as an NBA executive. And we can argue that he was a great basketball player, but he was a better executive. This guy won 8 championships as an NBA executive. He won 5 with the Lakers in the Showtime era with Magic, Kareem, and all that. He then won another championship with the Lakers in 2000 with Shaq and Kobe, and I'll get more into that in just a bit. And then he actually won 2 more with the Golden State Warriors in 2015 and 2017. So Jerry West won 8 championships as an NBA executive, which, if you combine all the championships he's won as a player and an executive, his overall record is 9-8. 9-8. That is insane. 17 trips to the finals, and you barely win more titles than you have lost. I don't know if that more than makes up all the times he could have won as a player, but hey, it's a winning record. That should be something. But he was responsible for drafting Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, a couple of players, during his time. He also made a big trade acquiring Kobe Bryant in a trade with the Charlotte Hornets after the Hornets drafted him. And they actually traded for Vlade Divac and Kobe Bryant. What happened was Kobe got drafted by the Hornets, but there was a deal in place that Kobe was not going to play for Charlotte. He was going to go to Los Angeles, and the Lakers were going to give up Vlade Divac to Charlotte. And, Vlade Divac didn't like it, but at the end of the day, he ended up going there. And Kobe, of course, had the great, outstanding career with the Lakers. And then he also signed Shaquille O'Neal that year in 1996, which helped the Lakers begin their three-peat run. But then, of course, West signed Kevin Durant in 2017 to get him for the second championship. And then, of course, he signs Kawhi Leonard with the Los Angeles Clippers back in 2019 after the Toronto Raptors had won their championship. So clearly, Jerry West has been a very successful executive, not only with winning championships, but with also signing some of the best players to ever play the game. And I should say he also traded for Paul George as well, even though I personally don't hold Paul George in high regard. Playoff Pete, I mean, come on. Who gave him that nickname in the first place when he hasn't even won anything? But that being said, Jerry West, I don't want to say he was a tortured soul, but when you look at his career, you have to feel sorry for him as a human being. The guy made 9 trips to the NBA Finals, and he won once. That's worse than, the Buffalo Bills going to 4 straight Super Bowls and not winning. And it was so sad. It was so tragic because there were a number of times Jerry West could have won a championship, but for whatever reason, the Celtics always got in the way. Whether it was because of, a missed jumper by Frank Selvey in 1962 that would have given the Lakers the championship, a situation where the Lakers could have won, the title in 1969 had their then owner, Jack Kent Cooke, not gotten so overconfident in planning a victory parade right in front of the Boston Celtics in that particular moment. Or maybe the most interesting case of all, Jerry West had that half-court shot during Game 3 of the 1970 NBA Finals against the Knicks, which counted for 2 points because there was no three-point line. If there had been a three-point line, the Lakers win the game, and they would have actually won the series in 6 games. But instead, the Knicks won in overtime that game, and they went on to win that series in 7 games. And it was a real unfortunate set of circumstances for Jerry West as a player. But then you think back to his time as an executive, and his relationship with the Lakers was very contentious. I think we all seen the TV show Winning Time. I mean, I barely got a few episodes of it in, but the way they treated Jerry West, the Buss family, you have to think it was very disrespectful. Because, the Buss family, they're kind of like the Steinbrenner family or maybe the Jones family, although they are a little bit more out there with some of the antics and the activities that were going on during the heydays of their ownership. Jerry West did all he could to keep a positive relationship with the Lakers and keep them winning. He was responsible for bringing in all the players that helped lead the Lakers to 5 championships during the 1980s. He was responsible for putting Pat Riley to be the head coach of the Lakers when it was revealed that West was probably going to be the coach of the team again. He had a coaching stint with the Lakers before for a few seasons, but didn't really like it as much, and he ended up going to the front office desk. But it was Jerry West who actually was the one that told Pat Riley, you're going to be the head coach of this Lakers team. And it worked. It worked for them. They ended up winning 4 more championships during that decade. But Jerry West, for his time, has often been treated with disrespect by the very team that he loved to play for his time. And this was, of course, when the Lakers. Well, actually, he actually played with the Los Angeles Lakers. I know there was a period where they were. Well, he was selected by the then Minneapolis Lakers, but then they moved to Los Angeles to this point. So Jerry West has always been a Laker, and you can make a case that he's the greatest Laker of all time, although it would be hard-pressed to sell that to anyone who watched Kobe Bryant, who watched Shaq, who watched Magic or Kareem. I think he's a top 5 Los Angeles Lakers of all time, along with Shaq, Kareem, Kobe, and Magic. And maybe a top 6 if you were to throw in a Wilt Chamberlain in there. But I personally have him as a top 5 Laker. Something that Jeanie Buss has not done, which, okay, why would Jeanie Buss throw in a guy like LeBron James as a top 5 Laker? That is absolutely ridiculous, and it is absolutely stupid. I mean, the Wicked Witch of the West has Jerry West not in the top 5, and Jerry West, he took that personally. But, I mean, it's one of the most unfortunate things to happen to see a player give his heart and soul to this organization for as long as he did, both as a player and as an executive, and yet he gets treated like a piece of trash in his own words. It's absolutely really tragic, and it just makes you sad. Now, I'm not a Lakers fan, and I think the Lakers are a joke of an organization as of right now, but I have great respect for their history. I respect that organization. I don't respect the Buss family and what they're doing as of this moment, particularly with Jeanie Buss. And, I was watching this video from this YouTube channel called Secret Base, and I follow them with some of their videos, and I would definitely recommend you getting a subscription. They're kind of a branch of SB Nation, but they do such a great job with putting together all these stories into these videos. And they did a video on Jerry West and Jeanie Buss and the Lakers just now, in the days after Jerry West's passing. And they talked about things that could have happened that led to the West having some issues with the organization. There was a period where Jeanie Buss was actually dating Phil Jackson, who was a finals rival of Jerry West in his time. And that really rubbed Jerry West the wrong way, because here you have the owner's daughter dating the head coach of the Lakers, and Jerry Buss was okay with it. And that really was a bit of a problem, because now you had Jerry West, who was going through some unfortunate deals with some depression. And, he was very open about his depression when he wrote his autobiography. And I really respect that, him being so candid and open about all the thoughts and his mindset at that time when he was going through that period. But he was really, he had to deal with a lot, considering all that he was able to bring to that Lakers teams when he was the executive. And having a coach who has already won with the Bulls, but yet that coach is dating the owner's daughter, and the owner is okay with it. I mean, that's a huge major league disaster in the making. Like, that is asking to play with fire, if you will. And, that relationship between Phil Jackson and Jeanie Buss didn't work out. And, thank goodness it did, because I think it would have been really that stupid. I definitely would have supported Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift more than I would have done with those two. But it seemed like the turning point, or the moment where everyone realized there was a problem with West's relationship with the Lakers, was when when he was in the midst of trying to get Kawhi Leonard away from the Lakers. Like, Kawhi Leonard had just won a championship with Toronto. He was now a free agent. He was being sought after by both the Lakers and the Clippers. And Jerry West, there was a voicemail that apparently someone who may or may not have been Jerry West, but sounded like him, said basically, people are thinking that Kawhi Leonard is going to go to the Lakers and all that, and I don't understand why he would want to go to that bleep show, if you will. Like, we know what he said. And I think that was really the moment where it became apparent that West and the Lakers were clearly not on the same page, and as a result, all ties between them were cut out. despite the fact that Jerry West has a statue outside of the Lakers Stadium, despite the fact that Jerry West has his jersey number retired, despite the fact that Jerry West has done everything for that Lakers organization, they have treated him with crap. And that has been made evidence with their statement. And I got to tell you what, folks, when I read this statement, it just shows you how stupid they are. Like, I never want to be a Lakers fan. Like, I'm not a Lakers fan, but I would never want to be a Lakers fan. And if I were the Lakers, if I were any Laker fan out there, I would boycott that team. I wouldn't even attend their games. I don't care if LeBron James is on there. I don't care, if the Lakers win another championship. I don't care. I would not go to their games and all that. But the statement that the Lakers gave out after Jerry West's passing, so stupid. It was so dumb. It basically said, Jerry West is forever a basketball icon. He brought Lakers fans their first championship in 1972 and was integral to another 6 titles during his time with us. Our thoughts are with the West family and the many NBA fans who honor his legacy. Jerry West will always be a Lakers legend. That's it? 4 sentences. I swear, I thought it was 5 words. 4 sentences. That should almost equate to 5 words. You have got to be ridiculous. There is at least an essay worth of things you could say about Jerry West. But no, you decide to try to cover up your own intentions, your own true feelings about him. I'm talking about the Lakers management here, not everyone else associated with the Lakers. You just basically covered up your own face, your own feelings, and came out with a very positive, yeah, okay, we'll just do it like that, yada, yada. That's insane. That is, absolutely ridiculous. That's not basically telling the whole truth. And you ought to be ashamed of that. You are a joke of an organization down in Los Angeles. It's you and the Dallas Cowboys. And yet, I don't know. I'm sorry, Laker fans, but as far as I'm concerned, I could be wrong. You're not winning another championship as long as the Buss family is there. I think it's karma coming back to bite the Lakers, which is the reason why they haven't been able to build on their success of winning the 2020 championship, which is a Mickey Mouse championship, let's be real honest here. And, what Jerry West has done for the Lakers to bringing them to be the most successful franchise, guess what? Even when he wasn't with the Lakers, he was still doing a much better job than what the Buss family is doing right now. I mean, it's crazy. Magic Johnson worked with the Lakers, and yet he stepped down because he understood what was going on. It's a joke. The Lakers are becoming the jokes right now. And there have been a lot of bad franchises, but I don't think there have been a lot of franchises that have had their drama as overly publicized as the Lakers are. But then again, it's not surprising because they're in Los Angeles, for crying out loud. But, I mean, it really is tragic when a player who has brought in so much to this organization happened to be kicked to the curb like that. Or he may have stepped down, but happens to be kicked to the curb in every aspect he gets. Jerry West deserves more respect. And we can talk about his finals record as a player. We could talk about all the times he ran into Bill Russell and the Celtics. We could talk about all the glorious moments. But Jerry West is the most important Laker. And for him to be treated as such is a piece of trash, as he said in his autobiography or in an interview, I have no respect for that organization. But Jerry West, trying to end this segment on a very positive note, he was without question one of the great grandfathers of basketball. And I say that because, if you grew up in the 1990s like I did, you would have figured Jerry West would have been at least a great-grandfather or a grandfather when you think about all the history. Nowadays, people look up, see, like young kids, they see Larry Bird and Magic Johnson as the elders and all that. They don't, they look at Oscar Robertson as maybe someone that was like that of a great-great-grandfather because They never seen him play. They never would have envisioned a guy like him play in today's game, and I think he would have. I also think Jerry West would have played in today's game just because of his ability to make clutch shots and to step up and rise when the time going gets tough. But Jerry West is one of the idols I look up to as a tremendous player. You know, fun fact. Before the Soviet Union men's basketball team won the 1972 Olympic Games in controversial fashion, you know who they looked to understand how to shoot a basketball? Jerry West. I mean, who's the guy on the logo? Jerry West. The name West itself is tremendous. He is West Virginia's greatest athlete. Went to University of West Virginia, led them to a national championship game appearance. Didn't win it. They lost to Cal. He was a high school state champion in West Virginia from the small town of Cabin Creek. I mean, if you guys watched the Sports Century documentary on Jerry West, you have to be amazed and inspired by what you saw from watching him play, if you were fortunate enough to have seen him play, or at least seen some highlights of him play basketball. I mean, what more can I say? We are in a point now where the golden age of the NBA has officially starting to die out, because all these legends, are leaving us, and we have at least a small group of legends still with us. Oscar Robertson, Bob Cousy. Bob Cousy's 95, and he is on the verge of seeing the Celtics win another 18th championship. And, thinking about Jerry West, who has openly said he would never step foot in Boston again, and he would much rather leave before the Celtics won a championship. Well, Jerry, you got your wish, even though I'm sure you would have liked to have lived longer. But Jerry West, obviously one of the greatest basketball players of all time. You can argue a top 10 player, top 20. I mean, I feel like we owe a lot to Jerry West because of the significance he had to not only as a player, but also as an executive. He gave us Kobe. He put Kobe Bryant on the Lakers. He traded for Kobe Bryant to be on the Lakers. He signed Shaquille O'Neal. He brought in Klay Thompson and Draymond Green to help the Warriors dynasty be formed, along with Steph Curry. He's done a lot. He's done a much better job as an executive than probably anyone else has ever done. I'm sorry, Jerry Buzz. You brought 6 championships to the Bulls, but Jerry West is better. Jerry West has done more than the Lakers. Jerry West has done more than the Dallas Cowboys, if we were to be real honest here. And Jerry West, his stint with the Memphis Grizzlies, even if it didn't lead to a championship, it did bring in some great Hall of Famers like Pau Gasol and company. And he won an Executive of the Year award for his job of turning the Grizzlies into a playoff team. But Jerry West will forever be missed. He was a true icon, a true legend in the game of basketball, and I think we owe a lot to him. Rest in peace to Jerry West, Mr. Clutch, one of the greatest players of all time, a true Hall of Famer, a champion, and a really humble person. And I still think about that video when and he's teaching a bunch of these kids how to shoot a basketball, and he's making all the shots as free throw, and then later on he said, I hadn't shot in basketball in years, and he's making all these shots. Oh, man. But I guess the eye coordination, the mental makeup, or the mental remembrance of Jerry West to shoot a basketball is all you really need to know about him. The guy could easily hit some big-time shots. And speaking of hitting some big-time shots, the Texans are making waves for an article from a local reporter. And we're going to be talking about that in just a moment. Well, I was given some breaking news just as I was about ready to get set to discuss my next segment on the Houston Texans. And ironically enough, this involves another team in the AFC South, of course. The Jacksonville Jaguars have extended Trevor Lawrence to a 5-year, $275 million contract. And in other words, he's got 5 years. He's going to get $275 million to his contract. That, according to Adam Schefter, an ESPN insider, should be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And according to this, he's just got the same as Joe Burrow at $55 million per year, Jared Goff $53 million, Justin Herbert $52.5, Lamar Jackson $52, Jalen Hurts $51. So clearly, Trevor Lawrence is tied for first as far as being the highest paid quarterback in the NFL on a per year basis, making $55 million, which is tied for first alongside with Joe Burrow. And I got to be real honest. I think this is an overpay. Not that I don't think Trevor Lawrence is a bad quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback, but his biggest problem is he hasn't really developed into that elite quarterback. The guy that's supposed to be the number one pick in the 2021 NFL draft hasn't really been as consistent possible. I mean, yes, he leads the Jaguars to the 2022 wildcard comeback victory over the Chargers, and then they get beat by the Kansas City Chiefs. But what has he really done? I mean, he was supposed to be the best quarterback coming into last year's season, and for some reason, even after he starts off 8-3, there's been some inconsistent play on his part, and the Jaguars end up missing the playoffs when they drop 5 of their last 6 games. And right now, his position as the best quarterback in the AFC South is being threatened by C.J. Stroud and the Texans. And, you think about all that. I think it's safe to say that Trevor Lawrence might be tied for second as the best quarterback in the AFC South. I got Stroud number 1. Lawrence and Will Levis are tied for second. I think Anthony Richardson is still a mystery. He's got high potential, but I'm struggling to see him as the number 1 seed or the number 1 guy, let alone the number 2 guy in the AFC South. So it's going to be interesting. I think this is definitely a severe case of overpay on the Jaguars' parts. They're basically banking most of their entire future on him. And this, I think, might be a big problem because I'm struggling to see Jacksonville as a team that can elevate themselves to be among the best in the AFC, especially when you're in a very expected to be competitive division in the AFC South. So that's the way I look at it. I don't know if the Jaguars will be able to benefit from this, even with Trevor Lawrence, depending on how well he plays. All right, going from the Jaguars to the Houston Texans. I think it's safe to say that the Houston Texans have been one of the most talked about teams, at least in the last couple of months. And they haven't even played a game in 2024. And that's going to happen when they take the field against the Indianapolis Colts in, I want to say, early September. But when you look at the Texans team on paper, this is a Super Bowl caliber team. And for a franchise, for a city that has yet to play in a Super Bowl, let alone win a Super Bowl, that is exciting for all the fans of the Houston Texans, for the Houstonians that have had to go through the years with the Houston Oilers, just Houstonians in general. That has to be a reason for them to get excited. But having said all that, the Texans have also made some news with some, I guess you can call it, comments and interesting takes, if you will. Most notably from C.J. Stroud. Stroud has been on there talking about, I don't play for them weak-ass Dallas Cowboys, when he was, asked a question of, what team he played for, and he said the Texans, not the weak-ass Dallas Cowboys. Excuse the language there. But then you also had him talking about his takes as far as who he thinks the top 5 quarterbacks were this past season, and he put himself at number 3, although the way the national media works, they typically take a snippet of your comments and then they make it into something that it really should not be. But this was Stroud's opinion for who he thought the best comments were. And then, of course, the comments about whose career would he have. Would he have Eli Manning or would he have Aaron Rodgers' career? And he picked Eli Manning for the reason that Manning's got 2 rings, despite the fact that Rodgers has more individual accolades as well. But so the Texans have kind of been in the news, not only for the on-the-field additions, but also for social media-related stuff. talking about it. And that has drawn a lot of interest, not only from the national media. We could sit here and talk about Pat McAfee. We could talk about the pro football analyst on Pro Football Talk, CBS Sports, and, the ESPN First Takes Speaks and all that. I mean, look, those guys, they can be wacko in their own ways, but they have opinions. Let's not focus too much on that, because if the Texans were serious about what they're doing, they would be in the proving everyone wrong business. But not too long ago, there was a article that was written by a local media member named Jason Braddock. Now, Jason Braddock of the Sporting News, or he covers the Texans, he actually is a well-respected media person around the Houston area. He has written a lot of positives and stuff about the Texans. He's written some negative stuff, but he's also written some positive stuff about the Texans, and I have great respect for him and what he was talking about in some of the articles that he talked about. But this article that he recently talked about, he basically said that his column, "The Texans' hubris could be their undoing." Or in a tweet that he posted to promote this article, he basically had one simple advice for the Texans, and that is for them to shut the bleep up, or shut the fudge up. Well, we know what the F word really means. I mean, I'm using a Christmas Story analogy here to talk about that. Shut the fudge up. Like when you hear that word, you think about that scene from A Christmas Story where Ralphie and his father were trying to, fix the tires to the car, and there was an accident where one of the dad knocked out the bolts that Ralphie was holding on to, and they were all flying into the snow. And Ralphie said, "Oh, fudge," and then and then the narrator, older Ralphie, said, "Oh yeah, he didn't say fudge. He said the word, the big one, the queen mother of all words, the F dash 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 word." So we know exactly what Ralphie said. But yeah, this is basically the advice that Braddock gave to the Texans. And when he does have some pretty good points to this one. When he was talking about how the hubris could be their undoing. And he basically says, "This isn't going to be popular, as none of the group can do anything wrong this offseason, and speaking ill of Caserio and Stroud in Houston can only be seen as a hater. And if we moved on from the juvenile social media labels on takes and actually separated ourselves from the insanity that is fandom, that you could actually see a reason for concern. And that is that the Texans World Media Tour puts them in a bigger spotlight for better or worse." And yeah, he basically talked about how, well, the Texans had a great turnaround, rookie class, playoff run, and everything else that has been reported this offseason. Texans fans obviously love seeing Stroud going to Tokyo, filming videos with, Cowboys pass rusher Micah Parsons, talking about the Colts linebackers who were trying to talk some trash about how they wanted to get their revenge on him, talking about Aaron Rodgers and, his, the top 5 quarterback rankings he gave out. But then you start to see, him talking about some comments that were of Nick Caserio, who basically said, well, he didn't like the way that some GMs did the NFL draft, where after they make their pick known, they basically were clapping in celebration, whereas Caserio is just like all business, pick up the phone. "Hey, buddy, we're going to take you with the Texans for this next pick, so enjoy it, welcome to Houston." And then just hang out the phone and be like, "All right, what's next? I don't know when we're going to go." Like, he basically called out the other teams, is what Braddock was saying. Nick Caserio did. He basically said that Nick Caserio was calling out all the other teams to, with how they handled their draft picks. Hey, look, other teams are other teams and everything, but, then there's like this situation where the way he says it, he's kind of concerned about how the Texans might be getting cocky, might be getting overconfident. And I think he knows the Texans are going to be a very good team this upcoming season, but he's like, you got to tone it down. Don't act so much, because people are going to take offense to that, even if it's not meant in ill intent, and you're going to be, you're going to have some problems. Basically, he says, stop talking and do something that has never been done in Houston. This false bravado from an organization that is talking before ever winning anything is a turnoff to those not blinded by fandom and to everyone outside the city of Houston. And it's going to rub people the wrong way, and, they're going to be setting you up for failure, and you're going to be called out for having these so-called cold takes about how good you could be as a team if you don't do something well. And I totally get it. I get where he's coming from. He's basically saying, look, there's a lot of people that are wanting C.J. Stroud to have a sophomore slump. There's a lot of people that are not liking that C.J. Stroud basically said that he would choose Eli Manning over Aaron Rodgers' his career. And oh yeah, the Texans played the Jets this year, and Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback. There are those that don't like that Stroud called the Cowboys weak ass in a way. And, and they're all like, wait a minute. Okay, Stroud won Rookie of the Year. But what gives him the right to do all the talking? I can't wait to shut him up. There's people in Indianapolis that want to shut him up. There's people in Tennessee, in Jacksonville. I don't know about Kansas City, but I'm sure they feel a little bit threatened by, the possibility of Houston being a potentially strong AFC powerhouse, let alone Super Bowl champion in the future and all that. And then you got Baltimore. Let's not forget Baltimore. They're like, well, we just beat the Texans by 24 points in a playoff game. We didn't allow them to score a touchdown. What gives them the right to think that they could beat us when we had the number 1 seed last year? So I definitely can understand Jason Braddock's major concerns as far as him, wanting the Texans to settle down and not get overconfident. And look, I'm a guy that believes, in staying humble and everything. I try not to get too confident and cocky because I'm not really, I can talk trash, but I'm not the best trash talker. And I certainly would like to have, have it to where talk is cheap, actions speak louder than words. If you talk the talk, you got to walk the walk and everything. And that's what he's worried that the Texans might not be able to, achieve this in a way. And this could come back to haunt them. And I get it. I get where he's coming from because the Texans haven't reached that level. But the more I sit here and I think about it, the more I come to realize, you know what? This almost sounds as close to being a pessimist as you could possibly have. And I'm not saying Jason Braddock is a pessimist. I think he wants the Texans to succeed, even though he covers them. But what bothers me is there are people out there that worry about this kind of stuff. Like, they're upset and they're concerned, with all the Texans, saying all this and that when they haven't really done anything. They haven't been to an AFC championship game. Why are you saying all this stuff? Yet, the more I think about it, you need to have confidence. You need to have some swagger. Didn't C.J. Stroud in one of his press conferences last year say, we want to bring the swagger back to H. We want to get fans excited for the city of Houston, like for the Texans and the future and everything. And we want to, bring that swagger back. We want y'all to wear the Texans gear with the pride and everything. Didn't he say that last year? I think he did. And I think that's what's happening now. Now, a lot of people, don't have the Texans as the top team in the AFC because it's still the Chiefs, it's still the Ravens, it's the Bengals and the Bills, and maybe the Texans number 5, unless you want to throw in a random team like the Jets or so. But then you have the Colts in your own division who are going to be expected to be a tough threat. But the more I think about it, I think you need to have this kind of confidence. You need to have somebody step up and say, hey, I feel very confident that, this is going to happen and all of that. Like, you're not going to guarantee it, but you definitely need to have a bit of confidence. And the best athletes are the ones that have the most confidence. They have the swagger. They have the ability to express their thoughts. And they're willing to accept some brushback if things don't go well for them. But the best thing is they keep coming back and they keep fighting for more and everything. How many times have we seen Tom Brady express confidence? He may not openly say, well, I think this guy, is a flat-out terrible defender and everything. He may not say that. He may not say, well, the Jets are a terrible team. We're going to beat them every single time I'm playing them. He may not say that, but he feels that confidence just because of who he is. And, you have to have a guy that is willing to step up and put himself out in the limelight and, have the swagger and the confidence. And look, C.J. Stroud is a targeted individual. He's going to be a marked man because of what he did last season as a rookie. And he's saying all this stuff. It's his opinion, but people are trying to make it out to where that C.J. Stroud is a cocky, arrogant individual and not the humble person that we grew up watching, or if you were fortunate enough to grow up watching him from his days at Ohio State, that he's far different than what he was, and all this is just a charade, and that's not true because C.J. Stroud still has that. But the thing is, I really think that this is okay. This should be allowed. I mean, look, you have a bunch of these major media markets that talk about their teams. You're going to see SportsCenter cover the Lakers. You're going to see SportsCenter cover the Jets and all that, or any of the New York teams, because that's major media markets. Houston, it's not a major media market. It's a mid-size media market. That's the way I see it, and I'll go about it from there. But you have to have a bit of swagger. Years ago, the Kansas City Chiefs were not getting as much media coverage, and now they are because 3 Super Bowls in the last 4 years, that's a dynasty for you folks. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers for the longest time were a terrible team, and then all of a sudden they started winning 4 Super Bowls in a 6-year stretch during the 1970s. You think about the New England Patriots. They never had something to cheer about, and yet from Tom Brady's rookie season until when he left the Patriots, they were the best sports dynasty of the 21st century. You can argue that. But the fact is, the Patriots were nothing, and they're getting all this coverage because they have the players to win, they win, and they have a superstar player that has elevated his game and his teammates' game. And now you have a situation where it's the Houston Texans, a team that has never been to an AFC Championship game, let alone the Super Bowl. They're not even like a top 3 team at best, according to most media experts. And yet, you have somebody that's very concerned because of the swagger and the confidence that could backfire on them. Look, if it backfires, it backfires. But here's the reality. The reality is, this is not the same Houston Texans team of old. Everybody's used to the Houston Texans, or was used to the Houston Texans being, a pretty decent team. I mean, with a couple years where they were in contention to maybe reach the Super Bowl, but they didn't quite get there. And then the last few years were very terrible teams. And people were used to just picking on them because they were a laughingstock, and they deserve to be that. They basically put themselves in that situation, and they were laughed at. Now, all of a sudden, everyone's starting to see the Houston Texans as a potential threat, and with all this talking going on, fans are worried that this is a different element. I mean, you gotta have that swagger. You gotta have confidence, man. I mean, the fact of the matter is, this is a different era that we're living in now. Every city, every sports franchise is going to have a different era in sports where it's going to benefit them in the positive way. And for the Houston Texans, this is an opportunity. This is something that the fans, that the media has to get used to. And I think the biggest problem is, I'm a diehard Houstonian. I love the city. I plan to live there. But sometimes I feel like Houston has the most pessimistic fans out there. And, I'll give you an example. Look, the Astros are not having the strongest season to this point. It hasn't been going well for them. They're in a little bit of a slump, whether it's with injuries or losing games they shouldn't be losing to. I'm not giving up on them yet, but yet, their dynastic run could be coming to an end, or maybe this is a 1 year where they don't make the playoffs, but then come back the next year and they go on another small mini run. But I've seen fans complain so much about one game out of 162. They lose one game, and it's the end of the world. And that really rubs me the wrong way, because look, everybody has a time where they get to shine, and everyone has a time where they get to fade out, and then they start the whole process over again. It just happens that way. I mean, the fact is, everybody's not used to it. Nobody was used to the Astros being successful for the years prior to 2015 or 2017, for that matter. Nobody was used to the Rockets winning championships or being a strong playoff team prior to 1994. And right now, there's a level of uncomfort with all the fans, that are about the Texans, because now the Texans are an AFC threat. And they don't understand. They don't know how to deal with this. And this is a scary thing for them. So I feel like for somebody to tell them to, keep quiet and be careful, look, that's basically saying that, you're just a pessimist, that maybe you're scared. If you tell them to keep quiet and they do, they're going to tiptoe around certain subjects and be like, oh, we don't want to say this to offend anyone else and all that. You got to have some confidence. But I'll say this, the Texans have a coach and a system where it keeps them focused. They talk about, oh, the schedule's hard and everything. But you know what? It is what it is. They got to get ready to play. D'Amico Ryans, I know, is going to harness them if they ever get to the point where they are feeling very confident and they get over the line between confidence and cockiness. He is very good at managing to tone down their emotions. And C.J. Stroud, even in press conferences, he's like, last year's last year. It's a different year. So, he knows that. He knows when to calm that down. I know a lot of fans are very concerned because he's a rookie and he's about to enter his sophomore year. And is there a possibility that there's going to be a sophomore slump? Look, bottom line is you have the right to be confident and they have the right to say anything. It's a matter of can they back it up. And I just think as fans, they need to settle down. And I wouldn't be too worried about that because I think the Texans will figure this out. And if they don't, hey, they'll learn from this year and go on to next year, okay? But sometimes, maybe they are right. Maybe they'll say the stuff that, they feel in the moment and they turn out to be right. Alex Bregman, he said at one point after the team won the World Series the first time, we're going to be a dynasty. And he was right. He was right. 2 championships, 4 times an appearance, 7 straight ALCSs. That's a dynasty for you folks. But, you just have to deal with it. You have to deal with being uncomfortable. It happens as a part of life. Just like you're moving to a new job or moving to a new place. There's uncomfort there. Making new friends, starting to date someone that you really like, there's an uncomfort there. It's all part of life. And I think being uncomfortable with it is okay. Plus, the Texans are very competitive. They have confident guys. Everybody has confident guys. They should talk about it. And then as long as they back it up, it's going to be okay. So I think, I'm not saying Jason Braddock is wrong here. I'm not saying it's a terrible article because he has a right to feel that way. But I just think he and everyone else needs to take it easy and understand that this is a different era. If this was the same old era, guess what? We're not making the playoffs last year. We might not be fortunate to have C.J. Stroud or Will Anderson or have a team that has a chance to win the whole thing. We might not be getting a Stephon Diggs. Look, whatever happens, happens. But I just think right now we should talk. Let them talk. Let them say their mind. They're all young. You're only young once. And go from there. So as far as I'm concerned, keep talking, Texans. Keep saying your piece. Muhammad Ali was a great trash talker, and he won most of his fights. Larry Bird was a great trash talker, and he won most of his match games. The great athletes, they can talk trash, and they can back it up. C.J. Stroud, in my opinion, can talk trash, and I think he can back it up. But we'll have to wait and see. So, as far as I'm concerned, I think Houston fans need to take it easy, settle down, and let's just enjoy this ride, wherever it takes us. I would certainly like for us to get to a Super Bowl and win it. I know we all do, but again, it's all part of life. It's part of the process. Sometimes you want to get your thoughts across, and as long as you don't say anything very disrespectful, which I don't think it's disrespectful, I think it's just all in good nature fun. A lot of people on social media take things very personally. But then again, that's all part of the process of understanding who we are as individuals and all that. So, at the end of the day, let's just let them enjoy it. Let the Texans have their spotlight. And then let's see what happens when they step on the football field. Because I know 31 other teams are probably thinking, this team doesn't deserve all the credit. Okay, maybe they do, but we'll shut them up. And just as much as I think the Texans are saying they want the best of us, we'll give them the best of us. So, just calm down and take it easy. Perfect advice to end this segment, to end this show. Folks, I want to thank you once again for tuning in. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think it's fair that the Texans should settle down? Do you think they should keep talking? Just let me know what you think. What do you think about Jerry West? What were some of your favorite memories of him? just let me know in the comments of my YouTube channel at KWCLINE91. And then also you can subscribe to my podcast, Krocking, Locking, and Dropping, on Spotify. And hopefully I get to hear from you and hear your thoughts. And maybe we'll have a discussion about it in the near future. So until then, this is Kenneth the K-Rock Klein saying, have yourselves a great day. And I'll see you on the next episode.